Welcome! Today we are going to be making homemade gluten-free chicken fingers, a family favorite of ours. So I hope you guys enjoy the recipe that we have for you today. And they're actually not that hard to make. However, they are a bit time consuming, so at least I find. So I tend to make a large batch at once. We're going to be making, so this is chicken breast, is what you'll need. And this is a large pack. Believe me, this will be gone in a day. So I know my kids love it and they're pretty picky. So I hope you guys enjoy. So what you guys are going to need are your chicken breasts, and we use basil. So whatever flavoring seasoning that you guys like, we're going to use basil today. Your gluten-free breadcrumbs, ones that you guys can eat. We're an allergy family, so it's been really hard trying to find even breading that you can make. I know one day I would like to try and make my own. We do have a dehydrator, so one day. Onion powder, dried oregano, eggs, salt, garlic powder, rice flour, or whatever flour you guys can eat, pepper, oil. We're going to use grapeseed oil. I think I've already said that. I apologize. Plates. We're going to need 3 plates today. These are just what I can find. So one we're going to use for the egg. We're going to use a plate for the dredging, which is the flour base, and a plate for the breadcrumbs, and a bowl to put the eggs in, the eggshells in, or you can just throw them out as you're going. Fork to mix everything, and your butcher knife. And when we get to it, a large frying pan, which I have over on my stove. So let's get started. So first up, we're going to basically make our breading, which is a flour. So we're going to put the flour in one of your plates. I don't use measuring. It's basically all by eye, which isn't good when you're doing a cookie show, but you will understand in a bit. It's really depending on your thing. We like a lot of flavor here, so we just basically pile it on. So you're going to put some flour on your plate. And now we're going to add our seasoning. We add our seasoning to pretty much every part of this. What I found with cooking chicken is that, especially if you have the skin, this flavoring just basically stays on the skin. So what we found is if you add seasoning to pretty much everything, you'll get the flavoring throughout the whole your whole chicken finger versus just on the breading. So we're going to put it in the egg, and we're going to put it in here. I've chosen to do this. You probably don't have to. So if you're running low on seasoning, I know this could get it. It goes through quite a bit. So we're just going to pile some on. Just pour some on. The lazy man's cooking. We're going to add a little bit of oregano. Now, it depends on your flavor. We only add a little bit. So maybe that's probably maybe a teaspoon worth, maybe. We're going to add our onion powder, which I've added to a jar. So if you or your kids don't like certain flavors, please feel free to add less or more, depending on what you know that your kids like. Garlic powder. Sprinkle that on there. So, can you see? It's hard to see. These are light things. All right, and we're going to add some salt. And pepper. Whoops, almost forgot the pepper. I don't add too much pepper. This is fresh ground, so I do a few sprinkling. We don't want it too hot. So there we go. And now you're just going to take one of your forks. Now I say 2 forks because we are going to be mixing up egg. And the one thing about this is that it's really hard to know how much breading flour you're going to need. So sometimes I don't like to waste too much of the ingredients, which is why I only start off with so much, especially the flour, because it just, for us, it seems to be harder to find the rice flour that we can have that doesn't contain some of the other allergens that my son can have. So just mix that up. We're going to mix the egg. One of them already cracked, so I want to make sure I use that one first. Where'd it go? I think it was the first one. Is this one? Yep, there it is. So we're going to just put it on one of... I actually brought the bowl for the eggshell. You will go through probably 3, 4, or even 5 eggs, depending on the size of your chicken fingers. So I'm going to put 3 in because I know we're definitely most likely going to need that. Eggshell. My hands are clean. Alright, so use the other fork and just mix that in. We will be mixing in the spices as well now with the egg. Scramble that right up. So basically the flour is to dredge the chicken. It's a dredge, and it helps the breading stick to the actual chicken, because if you've ever tried to make chicken fingers before, you will find, or any breaded chicken parmesan, this could be used for chicken parmesan as well. This is how I make the base of that as well. So it can be chicken fingers, chicken parmesan. The only difference between the chicken parmesan is you're putting it in tomato sauce and adding some cheese after. So I have going to go wash my hands. So now we're going to do the same thing that we did with the dredge. And we're going to add, the only thing I'm not adding is the salt or the pepper. I don't add that to the egg. So you want to get a good amount on there. A little bit. I only add a little bit of oregano, not much, because the flavoring will be out. But because you're making so much, it does get, onion powder. I won't put as much onion powder in this one. So maybe half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. Garlic powder. Basically whatever seasoning except for the salt. We don't put the salt. And I tend to use more garlic powder than the onion powder. I think I put a lot of onion powder in that one. And then you're just going to mash it up. One thing about egg, a lot of it will probably stick to the plate. So that's why we do add quite a bit of flavoring, because I just find wherever it gets so mashed up. Scramble it and mix it up. And now we're going to do the same thing with the breading. You will go through more of the breading than you will the flour. I'm mounding that. And once again, we're back. Basil. And I will add salt and pepper to this. So, basil. Remember, this is a mound. It's going to get all mixed in. We like our flavor. Oregano. Garlic powder. Please excuse any of the noises in the background. There are 6 people and we're in quarantine, so asking them to stay put is not going to happen, or water if they're hungry or thirsty. Onion powder. Salt. Now, if you have a breading that's already got all this in it, then you don't have to worry. But right now we're mixing in, our breading is basically plain. So there's, how many, 3 ingredients in this? 4. So we have to add our own flavoring. Salt and pepper. We'll add a little bit more pepper to this, to the outside, but still not too much. And we'll use the non-egg fork and just mix it up. If you find that you can't see, the idea is to be able to find, able to see the spices in the mix. You want to be able to see it. If you can't see it, then you probably need to add a little bit more. Or not. It depends. We all have different tastes too. If you can smell it, that's another way I go about it. If you can smell the flavoring, then you're probably good. So you can't really see it, but there really isn't much in the flour. It's just to add a little bit. I might add a little bit more into this. But then flavoring, well, you want to be able to see it, so I could see it throughout. I might add a little bit more to eat. So here we go. I can smell the garlic and the salt, so I might just add a little bit more basil. We like basil here. So just a little bit. Mix it up. There we go. There we go. So next we are going to move everything out of the way. Get our chicken. Now I've been putting the chicken back in the package, but I'm going to put them in a separate dish today, because you will need a separate dish for the chicken that you're actually going to be putting off to the side. So I'm going to put that in front of me. Actually, I'm going to put it off to the side. Okay. So we're going to keep all the dried stuff close by, just in case you have to add more. So now we're going to cut up our chicken. So take your butcher knife. I tend to still make them about the same. I find on the chicken breast there's always one part that I tend to cut off. It's like where all the veins kind of join in. You want to try and make them as even as you can, but they'll just cook. But we're not picky here. And we'll do that until all of them are cut up. So I tend to like cook them sideways. Some chicken breasts tend to have thick spots, so I always try to cut those in half, or not as much. So we are getting to that vein part. So I'm just going to cut around it. So we're going to have some smaller pieces, but I try not to waste too much of the chicken, so that those will just fry. So we'll just put that back in. So I will be back once we finish cutting up all the chicken. I will be back, and we will start the breading process. So this will, instead of me watching cut chicken. Alrighty, there we go. I'm gonna make that one the last of the breaded chicken fingers, because now we're gonna go on to what do you do with the non-breaded one. So now we are going to make the paleo version of the chicken fingers. So we have our cut up chicken breast that we cut up. So these are just the plain ones, and we are going to basically do what we did with the other ones, except we're not going to bread them. I'm not going to put egg on them, and I'm actually going to be baking some of these instead of frying them. Sorry. So I'm going to line them up on the cutting board. Or, as my mom said, we can just put it in a pot or a bowl, I should say. So basically, so what I'm doing is I'm just getting them ready because we're just going to add the spices directly to them. And that's it. So it's just basically, it's like what you would do with chicken. So you can cut up the chicken if you want, or keep it whole. It'd be no different than just kind of adding them to your baking. So just add some flavor. This, I guess, would be an Italian flavoring. So I'm gonna get the pan because some of these I'm just gonna put directly on the pan. So now we're just literally going to add the spices directly to the chicken. So yes, one by one, I add the salt. And then I add basil. I want to do the salt first because it helps sink into the chicken first. And then it's this way. I find doing it this way, hopefully I don't waste, because we tend to use a lot of these seasonings. Try not to waste a bit, because if you put it in a bowl, it doesn't always, you don't always use everything. So put as little or as much of the seasoning as you want. I'm going to add some oregano as well, just a little bit. I don't tend to put too much oregano. This year, hopefully, I'm going to make a garden again, because it looks like we aren't going anywhere again, and get some fresh herbs, which would be really nice. So I have my onion powder. Sprinkle it. I like onion powder. Like I said, just add however much you guys enjoy. There is no rule. Just sprinkling it on now, the garlic powder. We use a lot of garlic powder. We use it for a lot of different things. And fresh garlic. There we go. Some of these I'm going to flip over. I am going to fry some of them, just because I know my kids like it fried, but I'm also going to flip these over, do the same on the other side, and then I'm just going to add them right to the pan and see how they come out baked. I'm trying an experiment on my kids to see if they'll eat them baked. As of right now, see if their taste buds have changed. I know when I cook chicken in the oven in general, they don't tend to eat them. So, and I'm going to add them to a different pan actually. So we're just going to flip over some of them, not all of them. Wash the hands again. So I've got an dish instead. I'm just going to put them into a dish. Because we're not frying them, they are going to cook at a different rate than the other chicken fingers. So sprinkle. So what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. Get coating on everything. Oh, do I have the salt on there? There's really no order either. Except the salt. I find the salt is good to put on first, because then it goes right onto the chicken. Pepper. I'm not a huge pepper fan, so I like pepper in things, but sometimes I find it gets much. So basically, just coat the chicken. So now we're just going to add them to the dish, and I will cook them after. Awesome. So now I'm going to go over to the frying pan and we're going to heat that frying pan up. I didn't want to preheat it. It will be really noisy in my house, so it might be a little hard to hear me. I have to put the overhead fan. We have a gas stove. So I'm going to turn on the oven to 375 degrees and I'm going to start heating up my pan. So I will see you very soon. Hello, welcome back. So I have the pan going. It's been heating up, so I think we're about ready to add the oil. I have my oven started at 375 degrees and it is preheating up. It'll probably be, depending on, now you have to decide how fast your oven heats up or not. It will depend on when you actually put it on. I put it on now because it doesn't take that long to time. At least it doesn't. So, I'm going to add some oil to the pan. I'm not going to add a lot. But I will measure this as I'm going. I usually just pour a bunch of oil, coat it, as long as it coats the bottom, that's what you want. It's just a thin layer of oil at the bottom of your pan. We all have different sizes pans, so for my pan, well, I don't even know what size it is, so I'm just going to pour. Literally just coat the bottom. So you have your pan, you're just going to try 1 tablespoon at a time. I would say this is probably about 2, maybe 3. A little layer of oil. That breading is going to heat up that oil very fast, and I find I'm always having to re-put oil in every time. Almost every 2 times, I would say, I get about 2 fries with 2 different batches with that amount of oil. Then I'm having to add a little bit more each time just to make sure that you still have oil to fry the rest of the chicken in. So what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to fry my non-breaded ones first. So we are going to make the paleo fried version of the chicken finger first. Mainly, especially if you have other allergies in the house, you want to keep the different ingredients separate. I just prefer to do it this way. I can cheat. I'm not allowed to have grains, so it won't affect me as much. So you guys know what your families can take, how tolerable they are. But I'm just going to fry mine up first, which are the non-breaded ones. And so what I do is I put the side that has the seasoning downward first, because I'm actually going to add more seasoning to the other side when it goes in. You could do this first. I somehow do it this way. I don't know why. Just because I find when I pick them up or we go to flip them, the bottom will end up, some of the seasoning will go. And that will help to add. So I'm just going to add as much chicken as you want room. You're going to need some tongs. And be careful, you will get spit at. My oven's on a bit of an angle. So wash your hands. And I do this to save time a bit. I mean, I don't think it matters if you put it on before or after. Saves you from having to wash your hands in the middle. And if kids are doing this, I would season them first. I wouldn't want the kids to do this. Live and learn, right? I don't know. I never thought of doing it first. So yeah, if you were a kid, season them first before you start doing this. Sitting here anyway. So once you start to see the ring, I'll show you. So notice how there's like a ring around the thing. There's just a white ring. That's when you can tell that they're ready to be flipped. And they're golden on the other side. I may have to oil. I've added less oil than I normally do. We're trying to cut back the amount of oil that we're using. We just wait. And we wait, and we wait, and we wait. So once it's fried on the bottom, I just put them in the pan. Because we're going to stick these in the oven to let them cook. So we're going to put in the baking sheet, the cookie sheet. If you have thicker pieces, you could fry them a little bit longer. I'm just going to add the rest of them. So like I was saying earlier, in the middle of that is if kids are cooking, please season your chicken fully. That way you're not having to stick your arm over the frying pan while you're doing it. I've been doing it this way just because for my brain it seemed like it worked, but safety wise it's better to season it first. So I'm going to go ahead and season the rest of them, which is only a few. Prior to actually cooking. So you put all your seasonings that you've been using so far. Now we're just going to fry them again. Now that I've done the brown, now they're all fried. Keep the golden on both sides. I'm going to add some more oil to the pan. Let that just heat up, just give it some time to heat up. It doesn't take very long. So we are going to be frying up the breaded chicken fingers now. So I just made a batch of non-breaded ones, kept them separate, wanted to cook those ones first so I could reuse the same pan and I didn't have to worry about washing it. So we added our oil to the pan. Because the pan's already hot, we just have to add a little bit. Sometimes if you add a lot more, I just have to give it a minute or so to heat up again. You don't want to burn the oil. And now we're just going to add them to the pan. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to wait for them to get golden. We're not cooking them fully in the pan. We're just going to fry them up a bit just to give them a golden color. Because we're going to finish cooking them in the oven. And my oven on a lot side. The handle of this pan broke, but it's still usable. You actually can't buy stuff right now unless it's curbside. So. There we go. Wait for that to cook up. And then we'll flip them. Probably takes about 2 to 3 minutes each side, I would say. Maybe a little longer depending on how high your oven is or your stove top grill. So as you can see, we got some like I said, we're not trying to cook them through. These ones are really brown. Half of my pan's hot, half of it's not. That's okay. Just want a light color on the one side. We're just trying to fry it up, just to allow the juices to stay in. They won't be dry. There we go. I find I don't fry them as much on the second side. So the whole process takes about an hour, hour and a half. From the time you start cooking to the time they're done. It is a lengthy process, especially if you fry them, just because you're cutting them up, you're seasoning everything. And then we also did 2 different batches. So we made a non-breaded version, which will take time, because now instead of doing all, it's pretty much the same thing. And actually those are probably a little bit faster. But I would say, because we're going to stick these in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, probably about 20 minutes afterwards. And check them on after the 15-minute mark and see. Everybody's oven's different. For us, it takes between 15 and 20 minutes. And then I know that it's so nice golden color on the other side. There's always the hot spots. Now I'm going to put them on the same pan only because in our house I'm okay with that. But for allergies, you want to make sure generally to keep anything separate, especially if one person cannot have any touching food at all. Since for me, it's a preference because I just personally can't eat it. It's not going to kill me, so I'm going to cook everything on the one pan. But you got to be careful with that kind of thing. And that's right down to the utensils you use, everything. That ate up all the oil. So I will be back once they're all fried. Hi everybody, we are ready to put everything in the oven. It will take about 15 to 20 minutes for the chicken fingers to fry. My non-breaded ones won't be ready in time, so I'm going to cook these ones because my kids are hungry. But these guys will take probably about half an hour, but I'm going to cook them after my other chicken fingers are ready. Set the timer. I love my timer. I'm going to set it for 15 minutes and then check them to see how they're doing. So I'll be back. We'll see you back soon. The oven went on, so we are ready to take them out of the oven. So here we go. Grab my other upper mitt. I'll show you. So they look about the same. I will take a picture. But what I like to do is take a knife and just cut through one of the thicker ones. That way, just to make sure that they are cooked, because you don't want food poisoning. There, wait. Juicy, juicy. So I'm going to try one of the non-breaded ones. Juicy, which is awesome. I have tried them out before. It's a hit miss, but these ones are nice and juicy, so yay! So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the other ones in the oven, and we're going to see how long. I would say probably it's going to take about half an hour. I'm going to put them on for 20 minutes and just see how it goes from there. 20 minutes. So I will be back. See you in a bit, guys. Welcome back. So the beeper went off. I turned the fan off so you can finally hear me. We're going to see how this chicken turned out. I haven't really made just chicken strips before. I usually just fry it, but ooh, they look really good. Take my knife, gonna cut up, make sure that they are cooked. So they were in about 25 minutes. And they look ready. Yay! I'm gonna eat this one anyway. So so see, they're all cooked. They're not pink. We don't want pink. So they're awesome. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoy the chicken. There is a different texture. It's not like a fried texture. So the ones without the being fried, I didn't put any oil on them. So it was just the chicken, the spices, and in the oven they go. So just baked it. There is juice at the bottom, which is nice. So I tend to dip that if you're looking for a little bit juicy. The frying part does help keep the juices in the chicken. But these are still pretty juicy, so I didn't overcook them. Yay! So thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will be back again for more videos. I'm actually going to be making meatballs next. Next week, I'm going to be doing a live stream on Twitch, and I'm going to be making a pug cake. So the video will be a live stream video. Hopefully not too much extra talking. But I'm going to put all the timestamps in the bottom, so if you're looking for specific things, then you can find out where they are on the video. So I hope you enjoy my gluten-free homemade chicken fingers, the paleo version as well, or just the non-breaded ones. And yeah, we will see you again soon. Thanks for joining. Have a great day. Stay well, everybody.